Is traffic in India as bad as everyone says it is?
Hi, my name is Jasmine. My husband Gozi and I are expats who have lived in both India and Morocco. I love to travel, and when I can, I love trying new foods too.
And today I'm going to share my perspective of traffic in India and my experiences with getting around the city of Hyderabad. I get questions in person and online all about traffic, y'all, and it is like interesting to think about. Let's talk about traffic in Hyderabad, where I lived, and other cities that I really don't have a perspective on, but I do have facts. Similar to many places around the world, traffic is going to depend on the time of day. So my experience was in Hyderabad when it was time to go to work. There was no traffic. Work for me started around 8:30, and I left my house at around 7 o'clock or so to get there a little early, to settle in, do my thing, and then start working. And I was so thankful for that commute. It was actually one of my favorite commutes, if a person can have a favorite commute, because coming back home from work was always so treacherous. And I say treacherous in a way of, if I left right at 5, 6 o'clock, that is when everybody else is leaving for work. And that is the same everywhere else in the world. Most people are getting to work at one specific time. And I believe in India, work started a little later for most of the population, in Hyderabad in particular. So for me, having an 8 a.m. start time was really nice because it allowed me to beat the majority of the other commuters going to work later that morning. Whereas now we're all leaving around the same time, and doing that just causes congestion. It is simple science and math and all of that good stuff. And it was always funny to me because what was usually a 30-minute drive or ride, or even metro ride, was like 45 minutes or so to work, ended up being like an hour to an hour and a half coming back. The volume of people in traffic after work hours was a lot, and you just think like, where did everybody come from? It was really, really funny to think about. I would say that traffic in Hyderabad probably isn't as bad as it is in other cities, and that's because the population in Hyderabad compared to like a Delhi or a Mumbai is a lot less. And in my opinion, driving in India was just different, traffic or not. And I will say this, I did not personally drive, but we'll get to if you should drive or not in India later in this video. But the way that people drove in India was just different. In my humble opinion, I felt that traffic in India wasn't bad. I found that traffic was actually pretty slow. I was not necessarily transported on a highway every day. I was usually going through the city, and because of the dense traffic in the city, traffic was just slower, and that was fine compared to in the States, where people are going a mile a minute, and if there's traffic or not, it just seems faster. What was interesting about driving and riding in India was the frequent stops, maybe because of the dense traffic, maybe because people would cut in between traffic. I know I did that a lot when I was just walking. And that just aids to the traffic. It aids to the stop and start, which made me so sick. And that is honestly why I rode in tuk-tuks a lot. I took the metro a lot because I was so prone to motion sickness. It was absolutely wild how sick I would get in a car. I still get sick in America riding in the back of somebody's car or an Uber or something like that. I get sick. So if I'm not able to take a tuk-tuk, which was my favorite mode of transportation, one, because they were smaller, able to weave in and out of traffic, and they also had the sides of the car open, so air was flowing freely. I felt safe. I felt like the tuk-tuk drivers drove so well, honestly. They were very good at their jobs. And if I couldn't take a tuk-tuk, then I gladly took the metro. I would get less motion sick on a metro, and for the most part I would say the metro was clean. There was always space. Of course, before life changed, the metro was pretty crowded, but I was always able to find a space to stand or even to sit after a couple of stops, because most people would get off at obviously the most popular stops. But like I said, the worst part about being in physical traffic was that I would get sick, and I hated riding in the back of cars. It's making me sick thinking about it. And I don't know what the phenomena is about that, but it was being in the back of a vehicle, but also the type of driving that would occur in India, just the start, stop, the weaving quickly in and out of traffic. The very first time I drove in a car a pretty long distance was when I was going to meet new colleagues and friends, American friends, Indian friends, just meeting all the new people. And it was crazy because I was with my friend at the time. We were both in the back seat while her lovely driver was taking us to our destination. And honestly, if I could have, I would have asked to sit in the front, but I didn't want to be rude. We were kind of becoming new friends and I was just trying to put on a brave face. I didn't want her to know that I was as sick as I was. She kind of saw that I was getting queasy. She gave me like a ginger fruit chew situation to help, soothe my nausea, but it wasn't working. And then I think she had asked me to look at something, or maybe I looked at my phone or something. When you're in traffic anywhere in the world, don't look, don't read, don't do any of that stuff. I looked down and all of a sudden life wanted to come out of my body. It was just a mess. And luckily we were at a stop. There was like a light way down and we were in traffic, obviously waiting for the light to change, but we were further down. And this was like before I had knowledge of like traffic rules and mannerisms in India, and I was not aware of bikes kind of passing super quickly. All I knew in my mind was I cannot throw up in my new friend's car. And so I opened the door and there was a biker who was about to come, in the little space. I mean, if you can fit into the little spaces on a road, you do it. You just put your bike through and you do it. But I opened the door and there was a median right here. I almost hit the door on the median as the biker kind of stopped. I threw up out of the car and then I was like, oh my gosh. I looked behind me and I saw the biker. He looked at me and was like, no. And he backed up his bike, pulled it around to the left side of the car and went around with a disgusted look on his face. And then none of the other bikers on that right side proceeded to go. I just ruined it for everybody. It was the most disgusting experience I've ever had in a car. I don't usually throw up in cars, even though I get motion sick. That was probably the first time in my adult life that I've actually thrown up in a car because I was so motion sick. It was awful. But my new friend was cool and she gave me men. She knew I was going to meet new colleagues and friends and my potential boss and all the folks, and I couldn't smell like I just barfed outside like I was partying hard. I don't know, it was a mess. So if you ever wonder why you always saw me riding in tuk-tuks or on the train, that is why, because I just don't do well in the back seats of cars. I would actually drive before I would forcibly be put in a back seat in a car in India. No shade to India. I actually would just rather drive in general or take 2 Dramamine pills. It would make me feel so much better. But getting to driving in India, I think most of you want to know, is it safe to drive as a foreigner living in India or just visiting India? And I actually would say yes. Maybe I'm just a little more adventurous, but I don't think that it's unsafe to drive. You just have to learn how to drive. One, they drive on the left side of the road. So if you are American and you are not used to left side of the road driving, learn that. Just learn all of the rules, the mannerisms, the laws and things before you drive. Just really have your wits about you, because I think the most dangerous part about driving is just bikers coming and kind of cutting you off. But once you practice it, you'll be fine. Take it from someone who has not driven in India, but who would drive. I've been a passenger so many times thinking to myself, I wish I could just drive. Okay, that was a lot about traffic. That was a lot about India. I feel like I've not made an India-centered video in forever, but I miss India, and I miss my people, I miss my friends, and I do reminisce. I don't reminisce about traffic. I don't miss it. I don't. But overall, India was such a good experience. So anytime I can tell a story or share some tips, tricks, fun facts, or anything along the lines of my time in India, I am so happy to do so. So leave your comments, your questions down below. And yeah, of course, like this video if you liked it, and subscribe so you can be notified for all of my future videos moving forward. Because why wouldn't you want to be subscribed? Thinking about traffic in India is literally making me nauseous. Like, I just, oh my God, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go.